Hello and welcome to Talking Stars. I am one of your hosts, Darren from Movie Reviews 101, and joining me today is my new co-host,
hmm
Damien Riley from Riley Central and Riley on Film. How are you doing, Damien?
I'm doing great. The sun's shining here in California.
And it's still sunny in Bournemouth for once.
Great.
Today we are starting a new show where we discuss certain spells of actors, actresses, or directors' careers. We might break these up into certain years, so we could do the beginning, the middle, the end, whichever we feel like. And if you want to select a star, you're welcome to send in any requests. But today, we are going to let Damien pick the first one on our list. So who
Mhm.
have we picked?
Well, I picked M Night Shyamalan, and that's who I picked. I'm excited about him.
The master of the twist, as many people would say.
Yeah, usually we'll get into that.
One
Um,
person who tends to get typecast of having one too many twists, I think, when people watch their films.
yeah, maybe so.
But we'll see.
All right. Well, should I tell you why I picked him?
Yes, why have we picked M.
Oh,
Night?
it's a great intro. Um, I picked M. Night Shyamalan, and I'll be referring to him mostly as M. Night, out of respect for his name. I've been butchering it a lot with you, and also when I talk to my wife about it. So I'm going to go ahead and call him M. Night most of the time. It's a really great first name as well. Uh, Basically, the reason I picked him is because, Darren, you and I were talking about how this program is about kind of showcasing a certain star, a certain talent. And right away, I thought of M. Night having all these movies where he shows his talent. Usually, he's in the movies, if I'm not mistaken. I know he's in at least most of them, if not all of them. And I just thought somebody who's an actor and a director, and if I may say so, kind of has a little bit of a sick twist to him here and there in his own mind that we see in some of his movies. I thought he'd be a great choice for me, not only because he's very interesting, very engaging as a filmmaker and a film writer, director as well, but because he has a long list. Last I looked, it was about 9 movies. I think he's got a few others that he's written. But as far as movies he's made himself and directed, there's about 9 of them. So I thought it was a good place to start. We could talk about those 9 movies. So that's why.
It's a good choice. He
Thank you.
has been a subject of many debates between fans of film because of how he started and where things may or may not have gone, as we'll
Yeah.
get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, as his films may be called. So,
Uh,
which film would you like to start with?
well, I thought just to start it off, we'd start with Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense, on my line of thinking, if I'm at a dinner party and people are talking about movies and uh, M Night, Shyamalan, there we go. They're probably going to be real familiar with The Sixth Sense. When it came out, it was staggering. People were talking about it at the water cooler where I teach. Everywhere, people were talking about the twist at the end and Haley Joel Osment and the wonderful job he did as a young actor. Um, so we already have put in the disclaimer. I believe we're going to splice it in later, but there are going to be spoilers in this. Did you want to speak to that, or are we going to take care of that?
Um,
If,
as I found out myself, anyone who talks Sixth Sense, everyone, if you haven't seen it, you should know it by now. All films that we are going to discuss
Gotcha.
today are going to have spoilers, and
Yeah,
everyone already knows that Bruce Willis is dead in Sixth Sense.
that's right. That's right. Uh, to me, it's hard to tell because I'm married to somebody that doesn't want to know anything about a movie. I mean, she doesn't even want to know who wrote it, things like that. She's very particular. So that's probably good for me because I just love to share everything I've seen about a movie. So somewhere in the middle, I find a common ground with her. But yeah, in The Sixth Sense, it's just everybody was talking about it, and I can't remember people talking about a movie so much until that movie came out. And so, of course, I had to go see it, and when I saw it, it wasn't just the twist that was amazing to me. It was just the manner with which he put all the parts of the story together. Who can forget the beginning with that, emaciated man in the underwear crying in the bedroom and you know, just completely chilling, really. And then to just go through the rest of the movie trying to figure out what happened from there was a pretty amazing movie. So I admire M Night because he's able to take an idea and then break it down and go backwards with it, and then work his way up to it, bringing the audience with him. It's just he does it in so many of his movies so well. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that movie for now.
Well, with 6 Oscar nominations to its name, I do believe it was the last horror movie to get nominated for Best Picture. So
Yeah,
that is quite an achievement for any director.
it is. Now, I don't have the Internet Movie Database page in front of me, but is it called primarily horror, or is that a mystery or a thriller?
It will
Maybe
go
all,
down as more of a horror, I
yeah,
believe.
that's you.
I think it's scarier or more of a horror than Silence of the Lambs was when that was nominated, to
You know
be
what?
honest.
Good point. You make a very good point there. Because Silence of the Lambs is not to get into another artist, but is sort of taking you through on a thriller kind of way, and there's a few horror components. But yeah, I would agree with that.
Amazingly, it's not actually classed as a horror on IMDb, but I
That's
don't know how.
something. Wow, I didn't know that. You always think of it as Hannibal Lecter being horror, but that's interesting.
The one thing I always love about Sixth Sense is it ends up being my favourite subgenre of horror. And
Uh
I
huh.
always love the idea of the ghost communicating with somebody looking for an answer.
Right.
And
That
that's what I love in horror. I never find them actually scary. I just like the idea that the afterlife is still trying to solve mysteries, which is mainly why these ghosts are talking to Haley Joel's character throughout the film.
poor guy. He has to be sort of the earphone for them. Um, what did you see? I'm sure you probably did. You've seen Crimson Peak this past year?
Yes.
Came out, yeah. As I recall, that had a similar component. They were trying to get to someone. I probably shouldn't have gone there because I haven't researched it. It's been a while, but yeah, I also like that concept where the ghosts are trying to reach out. That's interesting that that's something you notice in movies.
Okay. But I think everybody knows how good The Sixth Sense is.
No doubt.
So
If you haven't, you better go see it. It's great.
I think we should move on to one of his most debated films, for the better, Unbreakable.
Yeah, why don't you take that one?
Also starring Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. This movie is a very strange comic book feeling movie about one man who survives a train crash without even a scratch when everyone else dies. And he ends up teaming up with a comic book guy, literally a comic book guy. And there's twists and turns along the way that he has the fragile bone disease, which I cannot remember the official name of,
I
that
don't, but that's a good way to describe it, the fragile bone disease.
that he has been looking for his opposite his whole life and causing all these destructive disasters that America had been suffering.
Mm,
And this film really does enters into something I actually recently called for a superhero movie, because that's what David Dunn, Bruce Willis's character, is in this, but a
uh-huh,
character piece about him. Instead of it having him facing a big bad monster CGI crap, we
uh-huh.
have him facing a human person and having to deal with a newly discovered part of himself. How did you feel about Unbreakable?
I think it's a great way you summarized it in a general way. Again, that's a movie everybody should see. It's just an incredible film. I think I've seen it probably 10 times through the years. I just love it. And I think the neat thing about that movie, you mentioned like a comic book character sort of coming to terms with a villain, a creature, having to kill things and CGI effects and all that. That's cool. Get your popcorn, your Coke, and you watch that, and it's fun. But this is more of like something every man, every woman can identify with. Bruce Willis is going through this process where he's realizing that he is superhuman, and he doesn't even know it till he's like, I mean, I don't think they mention his age, but I'd put him probably maybe in his 30s. He starts to realize, I can punch through walls. I can, just all the things he can do, and he's never hurt, and he stops thinking it's uh, just an accident or coincidence, and he starts going, I really have a superpower. And I mean, just imagine how any of us would deal with that, and the way that he deals with it is cool. He doesn't go out and kill hundreds of villains or hundreds of people robbing houses. He just takes care of a few situations that he's in, almost at first to see if he can, and then later he knows he might be the only one who can. So I thought that was a really cool way to at least start the idea of his, superpowers. And you mentioned that was actually a superhero because I didn't know that.
It feels like a superhero.
Oh, it builds like a superhero. Okay.
Because
All right.
if you watch a lot of their origins, they just sort of find out they're not like everyone else. And that's
Right.
what he feels throughout the film.
Yeah, he's sort of like a mutant in a way, although they don't call him a mutant.
Yeah, try to make
Yeah.
everything very human throughout the story.
Right. Yeah, I could talk about that movie for a long time because there's so many components, and that's another part of M Night that is incredibly engaging to me. Is that even his movies that I don't really dig that much, they all have multiple layers that you can talk about. You can talk about the relationships, you can talk about the superhero, you can talk about the magic going on, and so he has these layers of sort of fantasy in everything he does, and that movie is certainly no exception. I really like Unbreakable, great film.
It's one I do have to watch again because I haven't seen for years.
Oh, it takes you in. I just watched it a couple weeks ago. It just takes you in.
I watched it when probably it just came out or DVD time, so that maybe
Yeah.
15 odd years ago.
Well, as you always say in my comments, I hope you enjoy it.
I do hope everyone enjoys films. But,
Yeah, that's
but we'll
awesome.
move on to his next alien-based movie. This is quite often considered one of his most underrated,
Hmm.
and I arguably would say this has the best cast in it,
Mm.
but ability, maybe not personal reasons. Um,
Hmm.
with Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, Rory Culkin, Abigail Breslin,
Hmm.
who absolutely all steal the show
Yeah.
as a farming couple or farming family who start getting crop circles and alien visits. And while this film does have the blatant flaw of why are they attacking or visiting a planet that is mostly water when they're scared or die through water, it is one of the more well built up alien invasion storylines and
Yeah.
has one of the best found footage scenes that isn't a found footage film that still shocks you even watching it now at that party when the alien blatantly walks past, but you're still like, it won't do anything, it won't do it, it won't do it every time.
Yeah. And I just, as I'm looking at this movie and hearing you talk about it, I think it might even be, at least in my opinion, I don't know about box office numbers, but this one almost is as big as Sixth Sense, wouldn't you say? Because it just sticks its head out above all the rest of them.
Yes, and with 228 million US
Oh,
box office.
yeah. It's just scary. It's a scary film. Uh, he has scary aspects of all his movies, which is so ironic because he started out writing scripts for children's movies. but he
Yes.
really became a scary film writer, and Signs is like that. So, what else do you draw from Signs?
Well, with science, there's also the battle of religion versus science. Obviously,
Mm,
he's a broken priest,
yes.
which is always one that's always a good conflict to put into film. Loss of faith, aliens. We can get into ancient aliens another day, but the
Yeah.
concept of is there really a god, and if there's a god, why did he let this happen to him? And then you see the aliens, it's like, well, maybe there isn't a god actually. I was right, and he's wasted his whole life with this belief.
Yeah, and I would almost say yes. It's just that he's so negative. When he reaches that conclusion, I think that's such a there's such potential for him to be more of a loving father and be there for his children. Yeah, he has to take off his, I don't know what they call that in the collar, but take that collar thing out because he won't be a priest anymore. But at the same time, there's an opportunity for him to really become loving to his kids, because instead of looking at everything, you know, from a God-based perspective, now he has an opportunity to reach out more from a human perspective. But he doesn't really do that. He kind of becomes really, really sad because he lost his wife, of course. But I don't know. What do you think of that?
Well, you say that, but in the very final sequence,
Yeah,
it plays out that God has created his children. Obviously, it's his son who's got the medical condition, which means he doesn't get infected with the alien drug. His daughter's obsession with germs and water, and the fact that his brother is a star baseball player,
yeah.
they've all come together and it plays into a bigger plan. So it does bring back the God concept
And that
once he
is,
pieces
you're,
it all
you're
together.
right. What you've laid out right there, I think you're right. You present enough evidence to be correct. But as I have learned with movies, as long as you can produce your own evidence, you can almost take it to the utmost extreme, sometimes. And I sort of do that with this movie and The Village too, which isn't also really impacted me a lot when I saw it. But this movie, I just feel like I can't tell if it's bringing him back to a God concept. To me, it's more of almost like a faith concept. Like, have faith. There are signs all around us, whether it's God or not. I just didn't find that was specifically given, and I think there's a reason for that, because he doesn't want to make. I don't know. You're going to limit your audience. You want to have both audiences. You want to have people who can buy into it and say maybe there wasn't a God, but it was some kind of sign of. I don't know. I'm getting off on a tangent, but that's one of the reasons I really like him, is because he doesn't preach.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
doesn't
So
spoon feed you one side of the argument.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's why this one I think gets a lot of discussion because they like the fact that we see both sides of it. You
yeah.
can take it however you want.
Right. And
But
you can't do that in all movies and with all directors. I mean, I can't. I'll probably think of one while we're talking, but there are some directors that just put it right in your face. This is how it's to be taken. And so I tend to gravitate toward the movies where I can make my own choice, and I can watch a movie that is almost completely a religious movie, like A River Runs Through It, say, but take something out of it that is not religious, but more a human passion for life and art, things like that. So it's neat when you can find both things in a movie, and I think, so, to me, Signs presents both sides, like you said, the two sides of the coin.
yeah, the one thing I think people wanted from Signs, which I'm not going to agree with whether they should have had it or not, is the fact that the first two both had big twist endings, and people walked into this thinking, "Oh, that's the twist. It's they're allergic to water," and I think people got let down by the concept that it wasn't a he's really dead twist though. We'd got used to from his first two hugely popular,
Yeah,
which I think was this whether it's a good or a bad movie was the start of the people turning on him as a
yeah.
director.
And how you're right about that twist. Now, how scary was that scene when the alien's holding the little baby or the little boy? I mean, that's like, to me, that just stands out as one of the scariest moments. I know when we talked last time, you said you don't get scared much in movies. We were talking about Tusk, but that scene, I mean, is scary because that boy can't breathe and he's got his hand right on him. So maybe there's somebody out there who hasn't seen it yet. So I don't want to get too detailed, but oh boy, that scene just scared the heck out of me.
And surprisingly, another one of his that isn't classed as a horror on the IMDb.
Oh my gosh.
But
Well, a long running drama. They call it drama, I'm sure, right?
sci-fi mystery, I think it's classed
Uh,
as.
it is a mystery. I mean, that swing away thing. Anyway, I better stop because I'll hear the whole movie.
But let you talk about The Village now.
Okay, great. Yeah. Just to lead into it real quick. Um, they in the old days in Greek and Roman times, they used to talk about how you could persuade people of things, and there were pathos and ethos and logos, and I tend to be one of those that just is always grabbing for the pathos, the passion, um, but I try and challenge myself to look more at the logos or the logic of things and keep the pathos out. But I have to say I have a lot of pathos for this movie because when I saw it, I just thought it was so brilliant. I thought it was so brilliant the way, and I'm going to actually do this in such a way to where I don't give away too much because there may be people out there who haven't seen this movie. After I saw it, I took like anybody I knew, and I was paying for their ticket. I took my dad, I took my mom. At the time I wasn't married, but I took my girlfriend. I took everybody that I could get, and I dragged them to the movie theater. So I ended up seeing that movie probably like 8 or 9 times in the movie theater, and then later on I got it on video. Of course, we don't even own a video machine anymore, but I've seen it on. I think I've seen it on Netflix and on TV a couple times. So I've seen the movie a lot, and I have to say that the thing that is so amazing to me about that movie is number one, you don't know what to expect from it. That's why I don't want to give away a whole bunch of stuff. But number two, it shows M Night Shyamalan has the same kind of frustration and anger with humanity that I do, because these people, gosh, this is really hard. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and stop it here and go see it first. But because I don't want to spoil what was so amazing for me. But to see that these people that were running this sort of like Salem witch looking place were actually modern day people who had been hurt, and they'd lost loved ones and things. So they pooled all their resources and they made this place called the Village where that sort of thing would never happen, and they would vow to never, you know, give in to the spoils of modern television and who knows what else they were running from. But all the things that you don't see in the Village are the things that they were probably running from. And his message is so powerful, and what he shows the viewer is themselves. He shows the viewer that even though you may feel pain or you fear pain in your life, this is the alternative. You create your own monsters to keep you where it's safe. So that's all I'll say about it. But it really affected me. I thought it was a great movie, underrated. A lot of people that I talk to nowadays still haven't seen it. That's why I kind of had people turn it off if they hadn't seen it. But I haven't given away everything, so it's truly an amazing film, and I really like it.
I agree, it's one of his better storytelling films.
Hmm.
My one issue is always that it got sold as a horror movie. I
Yeah,
always found in the trailers that I had seen. But I don't
yeah.
know if you agree, because I.
It's not. It's very spooky, but there's no.
But all
Uh,
of the good bits from the trailers were always of the monster trying to get in the thing, trying to get into the houses or in the woods. And it was always the idea. The trailer just came to me as like, you can have a monster movie.
yeah.
Whether it is not a different question, because we know
Well,
it is not.
if you look in Wikipedia on him? just under his name. It says it lists all the movies, and then it tells what they all are in like 2 words. And for that one, it says it's a psychological thriller. And I really liked that because I'd never heard it referred to that way. But that's how they should have run it on the ads and in the trailers, because yeah, it is scary, but they never really show anything. They show a couple of things, but um, the point of it is that the monsters are in us, and so that's more of a psychological thriller than anything horror. Do you think maybe it had to do with selling it though, because he'd just come off some other movies that were branded horror?
Yeah, it's always going to be that he's going to have the audience of horror fans, or I don't think dramas sell as well anyway. So if it was just sold on the dramatic side, no one would have gone.
I do have an interesting thing to say that I'm just going to throw out there because I think it's kind of neat. Since I write about movies and you write about movies, um, you should throw neat things in when you know them. When I studied that movie so much, and when it had just come out, and I was watching so much, I read about the creature, and I read about who made the creature. I thought that was a really interesting creature, and I looked it up, and it was a guy named Bear McCreary. Have you ever heard of him?
I have.
Yeah, he's created a few well-known creatures, um, but the thing that's super neat and applies to nowadays, because that was a while ago, he changed his name to Crash McCreary, and he does all the music for The Walking Dead now.
That's where I've heard the name. I
Yeah,
thought he was a music person.
yeah. He probably was both for a long time, but the way I got clued into him was through that creature. So it's kind of neat how these talented people, you know, make these movies.
The one thing I always take from this is not necessarily from this, but there was a mockumentary made called The Buried Secret of M Night Shyamalan. And
Have you seen that? Because I have it. I haven't seen it yet, but I've got it on DVD in there. I was gonna watch it.
it's very funny, and it only tackles the first. It's set like on the set of The Village.
Oh, okay.
But it looks like it's looking at what's led him to this film, and I won't spoil it, but I can't find it again to watch anywhere in the UK. But I just thought it was very clever.
Oh, I'll have to watch that. Yeah, a friend gave me that, so I'll have to look at it. Um, don't spoil it for me, no.
Okay,
Sounds
I won't spoil it. So
okay.
I'll go into
There you
the,
go.
the dark fairy tale stage of his career when he brought us The Lady in Water. Now,
Oh,
have you seen The Lady in Water?
I have, but I did not rewatch it.
Okay, I believe
Just,
I've only seen it once, but
just yeah, I rewatched everything for our time today, but I did not rewatch that one. Partially because I didn't have time, but partially because I felt like I remembered it, well enough. I didn't need to see it again.
all I can really remember is the fact that it's a very dark fairy tale.
Yeah.
It's another one of those where everything fits together perfectly to make the ending happen. Questioning faith and fairy tale worlds mixing together.
Well, you know, I, she's in the pool. I remember being a kid and at a hotel or something with the family, and we'd go night swimming, and there'd be a big neon light in the pool, and be standing on the diving board looking down at this metal iron or whatever drain, and thinking that drain is going to take me down. And she basically lives down there in that drain. So that was kind of, it sort of tapped into my childhood. Uh, so do you have any thoughts about it? Or?
I think it's one that gets unfairly criticised. I don't think it's terrible, but I do think it does spoon feed us the ending too easily.
Yeah, I am gonna watch it again because, to be honest, I'm gonna have to stand aside from this one because I don't remember it well enough that like that one scene, of my childhood. I remember feeling that when I was watching the movie, and that she just lives down there. And maybe I just turned off at that point. Maybe I just said, okay, I might have missed the fairy tale idea of it, and thought, okay, this is not going to work for me. I do that a lot. I'm getting better. Mostly reading you guys is like you have the most open mind, Darren. I must tell you that. And when I read your stuff, it helps me remember that I need to keep an open mind when I'm writing about movies. But I think that was one where unfortunately hadn't learned that lesson yet, and I sort of closed my mind off to it. You know what I mean?
I would also say that the one other issue was the fact Pan's Labyrinth had just come out same sort of
Oh,
time, and it's obviously the better of the two
oh,
movies.
Pan's Labyrinth. Yeah, we better not get started on that. That's just an amazing film.
I just feel like this was almost his attempt to try and do that without going too far into the fantasy realm.
Yeah, yeah. He likes to do a lot of stuff. I won't say for children, but he likes to do a lot of stuff like with that sort of childlike wonderment.
Yes,
And so this was kind of, I think, one of those movies. It's like
indeed.
movies they call horror, so now I'm going to do one called Lady in the Water for the kids. I don't know. I don't know him personally, but it's almost like that's what he was thinking.
Well, we'll leave Lady in the Water and we'll go in to see. Let's see how your rant towards the happening starts.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, you said you might be able to shed some light on the happening. First of all, I watched it yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. Um, I was laughing so hard at Wahlberg's lines. I mean, because he is comedy now. I mean, he's pretty much completely become like in The Other Guys. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that's a hilarious movie. My son and I, he's 18, we just crack up when we watch The Other Guys. You know, that scene where they're jumping off the building. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of
Oh,
times.
okay, so you know then. But I mean, just it was like backtracking. I think that movie was made in I want to say 98, 99. I don't know, but a while back, and the happening that is, um, and just to see him like, hey, I don't want to go over there. It's almost like I'm waiting for. That's a stupid place to go, something just silly because I'm just so used to seeing him in comedy now. So he's done some good dramatic roles. I really liked him in that football movie he was in. Victorious, I think it was called. Um, so he certainly can act, but he's just got. I've gotten so used to him as comic. That one, what was that one he's in now? Where he's, I think it's called Stepfather. Is that the one? And
Daddy's Home, I think.
oh, that is just so funny. That movie's hilarious. And so when I'm watching this serious movie, The Happening, I just think he was miscast. Personally, I mean, they could have got somebody else that was more serious. Um, like a Walking Dead type character that's really scared about where they're going. But he just struck me as this perfect hair, perfect everything. So I just had a hard time buying it. I couldn't step away and see it as maybe for what it was. The other thing I didn't like about it was, let me just say what I did like about it was that it was M Night Shyamalan. I got it written down here. I'm gonna try and get that right out of respect. But what I did like it was that it was M Night, and there were a lot of cool things happening. He puts a lot of cool stuff in there. Just maybe doing it over and over again so much. Okay, so we know when they get the virus, um, first thing that happens is they have confused speech. Then after that, they can't control their body, and then after that, they kill themselves. So we knew that. Well, they must have done 6 people going through that process. I looked at my daughter. I was watching it, and I said, "Okay, we got it after the second time." But it just seemed like he had like a couple things in his bag, and he just kept pulling them out. Whereas in the other movies, it's all more to go along. So, and I know you have something to say about it, but let me just. The other thing that I wanted to say was, um, I felt it was a little bit of a platitude toward the environmental message at the end. So it's just those two things. It just wasn't very creative for me. It was more of a serving this message about the environment, and I believe in the environment. I take care of the environment. I recycle, but when I go to movies, I don't really want somebody telling me to recycle. So anyway, that's all I have to say. You go ahead.
Well, I won't say this movie is good.
Yeah,
I do like the concept behind it all.
yeah,
I do like the fact that we go through the whole bee scene that will allegedly destroy the world in a few years' time. I
hmm
know it's all environmental, like you just said,
hmm
but having that as the problem is good. It's not a man-made
that's
disease.
yeah, it's something different.
And also, it's another one where I will compare it to another movie that is actually very, very different. But the movie Pulse, both the American and the Asian version, deal with the idea that humans rely on technology and ghosts want to come through the technology. With this, I think it's nature's way of fighting back. Like, that is the dead's way of stopping us going to the next stage. I know there's a very big difference between the two, but I've always compared the idea that they want you to be isolated rather than groups.
Uh-huh.
And I did think some of the suicides they created were very scary.
Yeah.
And John Leguizamo's innocent. He can do no wrong.
You remember what? Wait, who was?
John Leguizamo. Tamo.
Oh, yeah, he had a short role though.
He always has short roles, but he steals the movie every time.
He's good. Yeah, that was pretty good. When he looks up in the Jeep and he sees the saw. I used to have a Jeep like that, so I know how it is when the wind's blowing and there's that hole. He looks up in the hole, and I looked at my daughter. I said, "How come he's not dead yet?" And of course, anyway, let's leave it at that. Yeah, he was good. He just wasn't in it long enough. He should have been in it longer. Maybe he could have been the character that
He could,
played the role. Yeah.
but he is a stand-up comedian, so
Yeah, but he was serious in that.
yeah, he
Good.
can do everything really. But he struggles with the full-blown lead roles, I find.
Do you like him in the Ice Age movies?
Yes, he's the best part of the Ice Age movies.
That's great. All right, well, it's if you like M Night Shyamalan, I have to recommend that one to you because it's him. His thumbprint is all over it. It's just not one of the best ones, in my opinion.
It's one that you need a bit of alcohol to really enjoy the full amount.
Yeah, it's a good background movie where you come in and out. You're not going to really miss anything, since we've given away the twist, I suppose you might miss the twist, but we've already given that away. So there you go.
Okay, well, we'll go on to the one that will probably have the shortest discussion.
Mm-hmm.
The one which is considered his worst of the worst, The Last Airbender.
Oh, is that what it's considered?
It's considered the worst because it pretty much whitewashed an Asian cast from the comics, well, from the TV show, which I have never actually seen. But that's why I went in. It was like, blah, it's just one of these little kid movies that could be...
If you've ever seen Speed Racer or Akimbo the White Lion, or these reruns that come on sometimes from the 70s, these Japanese cartoons, then you've seen the cartoon version of this. It's the same thing. But I wanted them to make it more of a real life movie, but that's me being the director. So it's like they were, like you said, whitewashing an Asian cast, and then trying to bring this cartoon into the real world. It's not going to happen. It's not meant to happen. You can't do that. It's like two dimensions, But yeah, I liked it because I thought it was a neat adventure. I had a little extra time, so I put it on to watch it, and just did not get up off that couch. I watched it credits to credits, and loved the adventure of it. I thought the villain was really a cool villain. He got burned, and he just had that. It was almost like Shakespeare or something, the way that worked together. But I agree, it is trying to be a little bit like a cartoon, which makes it look silly. But believe it or not, it's like I said, I'm trying to have that open mind, you see.
It also doesn't have what you would call his unique stamp because he's taken it from a source material, which is the first time he's really done that.
We really should say and give him props that he's a writer-director. I mean, it's getting more and more. You're seeing it more and more, but for years there was a different writer and there was a different director, usually with these great directors. I don't know how many of Steven Spielberg's movies he actually wrote, but like the real great people that you always hear of, there was always a writer and then there was a director. But with him, almost all his movies, he's the writer and the director. So that's pretty amazing.
Okay, so we will go on to the first one he didn't have the full writing credits for. I'll let you introduce After Earth.
Okay, After Earth. Did he not have the full writing credits? I might have seen that.
He has joint screenwriting credits.
Oh,
but the story is actually written by Will Smith.
Got it. And that's odd, isn't it? So now the lead actor wrote the story, and the director wrote the screenplay. So they must have hung out a lot and had barbecues. um, Again, and I'll just make it real quick. I liked this movie. I thought it was very action filled. Um, I don't. It almost felt like they had to get finished real quickly or something though, because the graphics were so bad. Like just to see that creature walk around was just so anticlimactic to what they had been building with Will Smith, his leg injury, and he can't leave the ship, and the sun is going out, where everything has evolved to kill people, and then he finally gets to this creature, and it just looks so crummy. I mean, compared to the creatures that we've created out there in other movies, um, I had a problem with that. But again, it was one that I enjoyed from beginning to end. So,
I'd like
how
to
about
also point out that this is the first one that didn't have his name on the poster of his
ah,
career,
yeah, it
because
was Sony was on all when I got my artwork to put up. It's like all the pictures were emblazoned with Sony. A Sony picture. It was weird.
to me I think this is his worst film,
Probably is.
mainly because it is basically just a Will Smith engine to try and make his untalentless son
Yeah.
popular, and
Get
that
him
was
like
the
everybody
problem.
gets.
I've come to a stage where I've gone off a lot of the actors I used to like when I was younger, and Will Smith is one of the top three that I just don't understand anymore. He
He's
used
got.
to be great, and he just seems to do paycheck after paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think Jaden Ed's ever going to be in any creditable roles.
Probably not, but you never know. He might get older. And I noticed on Internet Movie Database when I was doing my usual research, I looked down and I saw his modern picture had really thick dreadlocks.
Yeah, he's a bit out there, like both his
Well,
kids are.
maybe he's probably exploring himself still. You never know. We won't count him out, but I'm with you probably about 90%. He probably, won't ever do anything that gets away from that sort of annoying brat role that he seems to always play.
Yeah, and Zoe Kravitz does a good job though in what little time she has as the sister.
Yeah,
I will give her the credit she deserves,
yeah.
but that was the highlight of the film for me.
Great to see her face, isn't it?
That I absolutely hate this movie. I avoided it for years, and then I
Well,
watched it, and I was like, "What
this
happened?"
2015. I think this is 2015.
It
I'm pretty.
feels like it was longer ago.
Yeah, it looked bad when I saw the previews, but because we were doing our focal point here on the show to, look at this director, I thought, well, I'll look at that too. So it was better than I expected. Maybe it's because I didn't expect much. That might be why. But how about this final movie that I would appreciate your intro to, The Visit.
The visit, the revival, whichever you want to call it, this could revitalize his career to a level we haven't seen in a long time. It,
Oh wait, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but now The Visit is the one that's 2015.
yes.
The other movie could have been a few years back. You're right about that. Okay.
Now, the visit is found footage. I know found footage can get very annoying, and
You like those? Because you're just a hair younger than me. Do you like those found footage movies?
I think found footage has the best potential in horror.
Okay. Blair
Doesn't
Witch.
get used well enough.
Yeah. Well, good to know. I'm glad you told me that. I'm holding out then. I'm going to hang on and keep an open mind.
I like a lot of found footage, but I also think they're too cheap. Sometimes they just we'll just shake a camera around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can give you some good ones to watch, some bad ones to watch, but I
Yeah.
think the visit is the best one from last year.
Okay. Okay.
The fact that it's a pretty much unknown cast is the big plus point to this because you don't need a big name cast. You
Right.
also see him go back to a $5 million budget estimated. which also shows,
That's really low.
yeah, well, it's Blumhouse and they do all the horror movies seemingly at the moment.
Yeah.
And just the idea is, it feels like you're going to be watching a Hansel and Gretel storyline
Yeah.
with a nice twisted twist, which we needed from our master.
Yes. His M.O., as they say.
Yes. Have you seen
But
this one?
I have, yeah, I have seen it, and started out okay. I liked it at the beginning. I thought of all the found footage movies that I've seen, and we're talking Blair Witch Project and maybe a few others. Not too many. I'm not really a fan of it because it kind of makes me dizzy. But I really need to open my mind, watch some more. But now you're making me think I want to go watch some more. But with this one, it wasn't too bad in the beginning. They basically went somewhere they thought they were supposed to go to, and but then it just got so ridiculous. I mean, it's sort of like I was saying with The Happening. Like, okay, we get it with how you die from the suicide virus. We get it. You don't have to keep drilling it into us. It's sort of the same thing with that, and I think that that's where he was wide open to do horror scenes, don't you?
Yes.
That's where he says, okay, we're going to make this a horror movie, so this is where I'm going to play, and I'm not going to tell anybody what's going on. But then when it kind of turned around, it was a little chilling when we found out what was happening, but not that much. And I just feel that the end of it really, for me, didn't deliver for all the time I had to put up with adult dirty diapers and other things like that. So it was kind of, I happen to like old people. Who knows? Maybe one day I will be an old person. So they're not scary to me. But anyway, yeah, it's just kind of what you said, and just not being really a connoisseur of the found footage, I can't really say if it was the best one of the year. But looking at it that way, you're probably correct. And if people are into that, then definitely they should go see it. I just felt that he played a little bit too much to call it horror, because it could have been more drama, it could have been thriller, it could have been a lot of other things. But in order to make it horror, he kind of played around a little bit too much for my taste. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing I would say is something that's more of a British culture that I think America uses a lot more.
Yeah.
We don't put our kids on a plane to go and stay at strangers' houses.
Boy, I was thinking the same thing the whole beginning. I was like, what?
It is one of those. It's how much I liked it. It also feeds into one of those horror cliches where the one thing I hate in horror is you can walk away, or there's such a simple thing that could have made it not happen.
Yep.
And surely she has a picture of her mum and dad,
Yeah.
or whether it was, I can't remember if it was hers or her husband's mum and dad somewhere
Yeah.
that they could have shown them what they looked like.
Again, it gets back to, what I felt and I shared at the beginning is that I think that this writer director who is gifted, amazing, Signs, Village, the movie Unbreakable, he's just incredible. But you can kind of sort of see how he does his movies in the sense that he gets the idea and then he works backwards. So I think he had this idea and he sort of worked backwards, but in doing so, he forgot the audience. He forgot, wait a minute, is this believable? You know, he said, oh, the ending's going to be such a good payoff. I'm just going to work it backwards and let it fall where it may. He didn't take a lot of care to develop that idea differently. Listen to me, I'm criticizing the master. Apologize.
Well, that does complete the directed films.
Yes.
Well, I will say there was a mention of a movie which I've never seen. I'm guessing they're short films. There's Praying with Anger and Wide Awake. Never
Uh-huh.
heard of, never seen. Not sure
Oh.
how wide the releases were on either of those.
What about stuff he's written?
And then if we were to look at the couple of strange writing credits to his name, I say strange not because the films are good or bad. It's just when you see what he's directed, when you see the name Stuart Little pop out at you,
And it's a great kids movie.
you're
It's a
just
great.
shocked to see.
Tell me you've seen it. You need to see it.
I've seen, yeah, Hugh Laurie was enough of a selling point.
Yes. And Michael J. Fox. Don't forget Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, but Hugh Laurie's the
But
British god, so
can I just say, yeah, he's amazing over here too. We really like Hugh Laurie. House, that's where he does an English, American accent.
yeah.
But Wide Awake is on Netflix, so if anybody wants to check it out, I think it's probably the only movie by him that's on Netflix right now. But I put it on yesterday, and it's absolutely a kids movie. It's like, but it's about faith. The kid's not sure if there's a God, so that kind of showing through. Maybe that's something that he wants to touch on more in his movies. But in Wide Awake, what was I going to say about this movie? Yeah, it's got Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, it's an old movie. He is the main character. I don't have his name, but he's the one. I don't know if you remember or have seen The Indian in the Cupboard. You've heard of that book, maybe?
No.
Very popular book, like with about fourth graders, and I've been teaching fourth grade for 18 years. So to me, it's like a household word. But there's a book called Indian in the Cupboard, and it's really neat. And there's a movie. The boy is really kind of homely looking, but he plays the main star in that, and he's also in Wide Awake with Rosie O'Donnell. I probably came a couple years after that. I want to say early 90s. Yeah, it's got to be early 90s. Couldn't be 80s. But anyway, it might be worth a watch. I started it. I couldn't finish it, but it was just about this little boy. His grandfather is dying, and he's starting to question God and think, what's going to happen to Gramps, And I watched about 20 minutes of it. And his parochial school teacher is Rosie O'Donnell. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, so there you go. Was that your test? Did I pass your test?
Not yet, no. Then I know there's one you wanted to have a few words about on his writing credit, as he wrote the story for it, and that's The Devil.
Oh my God. Yes, that's one of my favorites. And when you and I first started kind of storyboarding for this, the first thing I thought was Devil. I want to get in there and see Devil again and talk about Devil. And then you pointed out to me, well, actually, he didn't direct that one. He wrote the story for it. And have you seen it?
I have seen it, The Evil
Okay.
Elevator.
Well, I've been talking too much. How about you talk about it? And if I have any comment,
Well,
I'll
is it 4 people, 5 people on an elevator?
full elevator.
And somebody says one's the devil, and everything is trying to figure out who's real, the devil, while a policeman's trying to figure out what's going on,
Yeah.
and everything does tie back to where we started again.
Mm, yeah. It's
But it's
great.
one of those where I like where the director went afterwards, but I didn't like where he would have gone before because he did the American remake of Wreck with Quarantine.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
But I did love As Below, So Below. So Below.
Oh,
As Above, So Below.
down
That's,
right now. That's been on my list. I'm gonna watch that today. As above. That's a horror, right?
a found footage horror.
Okay. Maybe that'll be some of my training to get into that more. Um, Anyhow, let me just say about Devil. One of the coolest things about Devil, and I don't know how long ago did you see it?
I think I saw it when it first came out on
A
DVD.
long, good long time ago. Oh, on DVD. It's probably 10 years ago, maybe. I don't know.
It's 2010, so say
Okay, so about
five
nine,
years ago.
8 years ago. Yeah. Okay, 5 years ago. Anyway, I can't add. But the point is, when those first credits roll, you go to the movie theater and you watch, the reviews, the trailers for all the movies you want to see and stuff, and then it just went black. And I'll never forget. It shows like a helicopter footage of, I believe it's New York City. It's either New York City or Los Angeles, but they're
Should be
going.
Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. So it's a major metropolitan city with high rises, and they're going through, and then boom, this big drum hits, and it turns upside down, and it's so cool. I had never seen anything like that. And there's like this real low bass kind of music building, and they're just going through the city, showing some of the credits, who it's directed by and such, and you're like flying upside down. It's a real simple thing to do with editing, but it's really effective. So if you go and see that, check that out. I just thought that was amazing, and that really drew me in. After that, it's a mystery. You're wondering what's going on, and you really do learn again about human nature. And I think he's very frustrated with human nature. I get that from him, as I am. Just the way that people will rat each other out, you know, and they'll even kill each other. But in this case, you don't know if they are or not. And in the end, you're left to You can tell he wrote it because there's a twist. Do you remember the twist?
I do remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's powerful, powerful twist. Some of his movies have a powerful twist. Like I said, to me, The Happening one was not. For you, Darren, it was powerful. You liked that. That was the environment. For me, I thought it was kind of a cop out. But this movie has a really cool twist. So if you haven't seen it, go watch Devil. It falls right in line with him making movies that are about human behavior and human nature, and then also having that twist that shows you something, what he wanted to from the beginning.
True.
Yeah.
So just for a bit of fun,
Uh-huh.
have you heard of the Rotten Tomatoes scores before?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Have you heard of the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to have a guess at what is his highest and lowest rated movie on there?
I like this because it's not related to box office sales necessarily, although it usually does parallel that. I'm looking at the titles. One thing you need to remember, I'm not giving you advice, of course, but I'm just in general. You need to remember when you're looking at Rotten Tomatoes is that it has not been around that long. So if you get movies that were made well before, like some of the classic movies, you'll find that they score extraordinarily low because nobody has gone back and rated them up. Not
Yeah.
all of them, some of
Yes.
them. So I'm looking at them with that in mind too because I want to win this prize. um, Gosh.
The twist is there is no prize.
Okay, I got the twist, but see, I just want to win. That's my prize. Let's see. Well, I know it wouldn't be Lady in the Water. It'd probably be one of the more modern ones. I'm thinking Signs. That's my final answer.
Signs is second. Do you want to
Oh,
guess what the worst was?
the worst. Uh, Maybe no, it wouldn't be Sixth Sense because they also rate DVDs after the fact too, and that probably got rated. Um, Visit.
No.
What is it?
The best rated is Sixth Sense with an
Oh,
85%,
that's pretty low, but okay.
and the lowest with 6% is The Last Airbender.
I am so happy that I like a movie that got 6%. That's great. That's what I'm going for. Do you like Rotten Tomatoes?
I very rarely use it
I
now.
notice I've never seen. I've read probably a couple hundred of your reviews. I've noticed you don't cite ratings of outside,
I
film.
tend not to read any other reviews until I've seen the movie
Yeah,
or watch whichever.
I think that's a good way to go. I really do. I used to look at them all the time. When I first started, I was like, okay, I'm gonna see how they score, and then I'll rate them on my own. But I don't even look now.
I don't even watch the trailers to go with them.
You don't watch the trailers?
No trailers.
Oh wow,
I
that's
think
interesting.
this year I've seen 4 trailers,
Wow, that's
and
interesting.
2 of them
Uh,
have already given too much away, and that was the first trailer.
oh yeah,
So,
they tell you the whole movie.
yeah. So I've decided I just quit watching trailers, going blind every film.
Well, if you don't have anything to go on, you might watch a trailer. Like, if there's just no article or no review, it hardly ever happens. But once in a while, I can't find anything good, and then I'll watch the trailer. But
I blind buy DVDs without seeing the trailer just so I can watch something I don't know what's going to happen.
well, plus being part of this new community that I've sort of jumped into and realized there's all these cinephiles and like Movie Rob and you and other people I'm meeting. It's like, and then the Lambcast. There's no excuse for not knowing what the movie's like, right?
No.
So, well, I guess that wraps us up, doesn't it?
Yes, that will conclude our discussion on Mr. M Night
Yes,
Shyamalan,
you got it.
and we are going to apologise for butchering his name as often as we have. But I
We
think we're getting closer near the end. Um, we will hopefully be bringing this show back with another star
Yeah.
and potentially a guest in the future. So if you do want to be a guest and bring us a star,
Yes.
you are welcome to contact us at either of our sites or
Abs-
at Movie Reviews
Contact.
101 or at RileyCentral.com or RileyOnFilm.com. You'll be able to find us on Twitter at New Guy Reviews and at Create and Innovate.
You can just spell it. It's CRE, the number 8, 2 N's, NNOV8. I may change that one day, but I like it for now.
And I'd like to thank Damien for joining me for this first show.
Thank you, Darren.
And we are going to go and see if we can find a twist ending that doesn't scare us like it scared Bruce Willis. Thank
You
you
got
for listening. And